Welcome back, fellow Lufians, AC nuts, and anyone else out there that cares to watch this. I decided I'm going to try another run, put it on YouTube. I enjoyed doing the last one. It was a little boring to try to actually put the clips on YouTube. It took a long time, so that was a pain, but what I really enjoyed was hearing some of the feedback from people that enjoyed it, or it helped them enjoy the ancient cave more, or they learned something from it. So, this time I'm going to use some different characters than I did the first time around. And of course this time, as you can see, I'm in gift mode. So this time I'll have all my capsule monsters available to me, which means I'll be using Darby. And unlike my other runs where I didn't have audio when I was using Darby, I can talk more about what you can expect and just how effective he is. Now really what I do from the get-go, what you might remember from my first run, is at the beginning I use Zeppy, just because he's the most effective. And I'm sure a lot of what I'm going to say is going to be repeat stuff from the first run, but with some new characters and the different weapons and armors and whatnot that they have. Hopefully we'll have some different... What am I doing here? Some different situations that'll bring up different conversations. One thing interesting that I found recently, and like I said in my first run, I'm always finding out new things. I just figured out that a berserk blade is dark elemental. And I was thinking that the only dark elemental weapon in the AC was Gady's blade. And where that comes in handy to know is that's one of the elements that silver and gold dragons are susceptible to. So in a pinch, you could put a berserk blade, a cursed berserk blade, on probably Dakar, Guy, maybe even Maxim. Probably in combination with Trick or some other agility upper, and do some decent damage. Well, and that's a pretty darn good spell to get here early. Not only do I have a way of reviving the dead, but at least some way of healing if I need to. Now, what was I doing with this guy? One of the dangers of not taking one of the ladies in is that there are just so many blue chests that are strictly for the ladies. But hopefully the master will bring me good luck. I love using Lexis in the ancient cave, not because he's the greatest, but because he is a challenge to use. Of course, he's excellent with the spells, as his intelligence is really high, but it's pretty hard to get him equipped. You really have to get the right things. And on that same note, Artea is actually my least favorite guy to use, just because he's so easy to use. He uses a wide variety of weapons, and his agility is super high. Thus I've named him the Agility King. And in reality, by the end of the ancient cave, Tia usually has more agility than he does. But throughout the game as a whole, he is certainly the most agile, and is almost always more agile than your enemies. Well, here I am still screwing around on the first floor, and I've already got 5.5 minutes gone by. One thing I like about Zeppy here early is not only his fish kick, but the fact that he attacks every turn. He doesn't defend or try to cast some spell on your party. One thing interesting about the way that Artie gains levels is that he really doesn't gain much attack power early, at least through leveling up. So his ability to deal damage is really based on what weapon you can find for it. Good agility uppers all the way around there. Sometimes it's a toss-up with this party as to who I'll have in the front row. I think it usually ends up being Lexis for the first 50 floors. Just because he usually ends up finding an attack-all weapon of his, like Coma Hit or Figoru. What I really am hoping to find in these first 9 floors is one of those elemental rings, so I can show some examples of how much they magnify spells of the same element. What did I find here? A dagger. Also, with a party of 3, I'll probably face, in general, fewer enemies across the board, so hopefully that will make this run go a little bit faster. Come on, be something I can use. Well, I'm not a big fan of the C-Ring, and I'll tell you why. If you've ever used it yourself and found out how quirky it is, I just can never remember to unequip it when I'm supposed to. It short-circuits the elemental properties of flying weapons and dragon elemental weapons, and I think effective against hard elemental weapons. And as you can see, it should be pretty good. It adds some really good uppers, especially there. That 10 agility is important. And this, effective against monsters living in the sea, that doesn't even work. So one of the glitched, or at least not properly functioning items in the AC. But it's a ring nonetheless, and it's hard to come by a ring, so I shouldn't complain too much.